We are on the Red Sea, 454 kilometres southeast of Cairo. The sunrise and sunset has only been 90 degrees apart. Sun's been rising in the south, not passing overhead, to be setting west. This confirms the Earth is turned on its side 42 degrees off the original axis. On August the 23rd, Comet Ison passed Io, one of the 63 moons of Jupiter, and that is a reference to Isaiah 63. And it caused a massive volcano, the largest ever witnessed by mankind. Then on October the 1st, 2013, as Comet Ison passed Mars, it caused a massive earthquake and left Mars glowing with a coma, tail turning it into a comet. It is easily seen from the Earth as a glowing star, and I think that's the one we've captured several times uploaded. Yeah, has to be. Here it is.
That's exactly what we've captured.
Yes, and many of you have too, not knowing what it was, but turns out to be the new look Mars. Ah! Now on October the 1st, 2013, just moments after the massive comet Ison passed Mars, causing it to light up like a neon lamp, the government of the USA announced it was closing down. NASA funding cut off, various satellites and telescopes out of business, deliberately shutting off public information. What is going on in space? Is it all just a coincidence? Hello. So the Curiosity rover has definitely been destroyed. And the volcano was one of the biggest eruptions that we've seen.
This I captured off some of the astronomers making comments
yes.
on YouTube about it. This is also from YouTube. Another reference to it shortly, but there you go. They shut down everything on this date because they knew this is it. They're going underground like rats.
Yeah, and then you've got the cocky NBC guy saying just to stock up on
He's
snacks.
a Jew, by the way.
Totally. Which we have been, by the way. Just had a bad test, didn't we? This is what Comet Ison looked like on the 28th of November, going into the sun. And its perihelion recorded officially 8,888,008 kilometres distant to the sun at perihelion. Here we go. Here's Francis, the Antichrist. We believe that Jesus resurrected.
He knows for absolute certainty.
Now, Nostradamus predicted that next to the last pope would flee Rome in December when the comet is sighted. What does that mean? The following is the quote of Nostradamus. A comet and a lightning bolt, if that was not enough to send shivers down a few spines, Nostradamus, 16th century French astrologer and seer, predicted much the same as Malachi. Nostradamus warned that the next to last pope would flee Rome in December when the great comet is seen in the daytime. The comet Ison, with its 40,000-mile long tail, has been visible the last couple of months. So this was before the perihelion.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, this was
16 million.
Yeah, this is speculation about Benedict. However, you'll see that it can't be. This is the day that Benedict announced his retirement, what happened at 5:55 p.m, and it's all to do with the Christ who's already on the earth. His new name, Brian Leonard Golightly Marshall, it's all about him. The name Christ is found 555 times in the Bible, which has been constructed for everybody to be trapped in the words. And the holy part of it is the book within the book, which is to do with the numbers.
Yes, it's found 555 times in 522 verses. Because the word 522 in the Greek is cubit, the mother measurement. It also relates to number 520.
So Nostradamus predicted the next to the last pope would flee Rome in December when the comet is sighted. So what does it mean? Comet and lightning bolt. It cannot be Pope Benedict fleeing Rome, as he is a prisoner of the Antichrist, Francis, and he was arrested after announcing the Christ returned in his apostolic letter that he uploaded to the internet on March 26, 2013. He was arrested when his papal office was burst into by thugs working for Francis. That was April 3rd, 2013. Father Giuseppe Giavello was taken away that night. So was Sister Maria della Rosa, and Father Giuseppe was reported 10 days later as being shot dead by the man hired by Francis. So he is the Antichrist. He rejected the news that Benedict told him on March the 23rd, 2013. The private meeting in Castel Gandolfo was all about Brian Leonard Golightly Marshall, Mr. Marshall. And you can see the photograph that was sent to us from George Ganswain and Father Giuseppe, that Benedict is using his hands like this, having a good laugh, as Francis is leaning in, looking to him, thinking he's crazy. So he totally rejected. That's what makes him the Antichrist. Can't be anybody else. It's got to be the one who rejects the Christ in the flesh. Denies. Okay, so the Antichrist Francis is aware I am Christ and aware I said I would destroy Rome. You can see my thread on YouTube. We uploaded some time ago. He can interpret it as he likes. The threat was that no evil will escape my judgment, likened to debris from Ison hitting the Vatican. In Francis' mind, he knows I am Christ and cannot escape my judgment and sentence of death, which I have publicly said was his fate. You might all remember the short little wonderful video that Joel put together for you, where you're nailing the coffin, and it goes kaboom, puff of smoke. Same applies for all Zionists worldwide, the same rats that are at this very moment scurrying underground. This is what the underground bunkers are all about. Francis thinks he can join them and escape his death sentence. He cannot. He's been watching everything I upload, even using the terms I use to describe the Protestant religions as being mentally ill. That was Jack Van Impe, wasn't it, just recently? He is quoting Pope Francis talking about fundamentalist Christians as being mentally ill. Hello!
You look a bit like Roxana.
Oh, cut it out. All right. He deserts the Vatican and Benedict XVI takes over, announcing to the world Christ is back. And Francis had killed his friend, Father Giuseppe Ciavello, and others. Now, the authorities have tried to combine the red dwarf sun and its 7 planets, bringing the reaping angels to the earth with the Comet Ison. 28th, 2013, November, all eyes were on Ison approaching the sun. The cameras were being wiped to stop us seeing a large planet closer to the earth, being one of the 7 planets of what is being called Nibiru. It was captured by BP Earthwatch in 4 clips, which he brought to everybody's attention. And here it is before it was scrubbed.
So what he was saying basically was that all the attention of everyone watching the brilliant of the comet coming in was watching to the right. But you'll see where he has had several cameras set up, and there's a very rigorous runner. And he was able to capture 4 clips that was wiped. So obviously they've been wiping the clips as they're taking a live feed, and they must have somehow missed it. And he was quick enough to see it.
Well, it wasn't until he saw the leaked video that brought it back to his attention. He went back to see what he'd captured on the 4 cameras. Here it is. And as he said, in the grey, that completely eliminates any possibility of lens there, which this has claimed to be totally ridiculous. That's from the Lie Killers channel, brought to you by the liars. They're not talking about the Christ being here. They're claiming to be the lie killers and say that this is a lens flare, and so they've debunked this one. They're obviously, read like a Jesuit-backed site. Could even be, well, anyway, Rome. They're in Rome. Central European time. English not their first language. So. Now, as Pope Benedict XVI is the 111th Pope, named by Malachi, the Irish Archbishop of Ireland, who had a vision while visiting Rome in 1139, naming all of the popes from 1143 to end with the 111th being Benedict, the glory of the olive. Malachi was born sometime in 1094 and died on November the 2nd, 1148. Therefore, let's look at the Nostradamus prophecy. The next to last pope would flee Rome in December, when the great comet is seen in the daytime. The Antichrist is the false pope, number 112. Benedict XVI is the true pope. He is the 111th.
They have done their level best to take this beautiful man and make him out as being every abomination you could think of. And the main man who was been attacking him was in Port Alberni at the same time as I was, up until 1996. And that's this monster, Kevin Arnett.
What an ugly-looking man he is.
Now, I was going to trial and all sorts of things there, and in the front page of newspapers, and all the native Indians that he was supposedly working with all called me Jesus. So he had every opportunity to talk to me.
As a man of the cloth.
And later on, of course, we contacted his office, and his secretary was delighted that Christ was back and that he was going to get back to us. Well, he had our phone number, and of course he never did.
And it's been revealed lately that he's a Jesuit, which of course
he's a Jesuit.
Now, of course, the other shill on the a Jew is Ben Fulford. What an idiot he is.
Oh.
My God, I read something that he wrote in 2012 about Pope Benedict was the mastermind behind 9/11 and 3/11. Yeah, right. Okay. Well, if you buy into that one, then you deserve to go with all the others. Out with the rats.
Now, this man died on November the 2nd. That's coincidentally my daughter's birthday in 1977. 111 is my birthday, January 11th. Isaiah 11:1, which has a 7-letter sequence code adding up to 888, which we'll show you in a moment. And the coincidences go on. This is Isaiah 11:1. Now, what you're seeing here is counting from right to left. So you count every 7th letter, and you start at the top right. So you've got 200, 100, 200, 5, 10, 6, 40, 200, 3, 8, 1, 5, and 200. Now, this was revealed by a lady, which I actually spoke to on the phone. Of course, she hung up on me when I told her who I was. And it was Bonnie Gaunt, her name is, or was, she's dead. And she discovered this. And of course, 11/1 is January 11th, my birthday, in 1944. So we then go to the next slide, and it's going to talk about how this resurrection date was April 5th in 33 AD, or the 6th in Australia, because Australia's ahead of the international date line. Now, my mother, Daphne Golightly, the direct descendant of King William the Lion, which we'll get into in a moment, conceived by the Holy Ghost on April 6, 1943. Now, my alleged father was Reginald Marshall, and my mother, when she gave birth to my sister, she was in hospital for 13 weeks with kidney problems, kidney failure. So the doctors told her that she cannot have any more children. So in those days, abstinence was the method for birth control. And my father knew damn well that he wasn't my father. When I say my father, this is Reginald. He knew, because he was an idiot, but he could count. And he knew that there was no way in the world that he was the father. And he thought, because when I was born and grew up, I started very much looking like his brother, Uncle Jack. And they were both men on the town because in those days during the war all the young men were off to war, so it was open slather for anyone, and my father and uncles were handsome men. So they were into ladies big time. My brother told me about it. He'd be walking home and women were propositioning on the street. He looked a bit like Cary Grant, so you can imagine, and he was a big star. So he knew that he was not the father, so he hated me ever since I opened my eyes. And he never took me on his knee, he never took me anywhere, he never said he loved me or whatever. So it was pretty obvious that I was conceived by the Holy Ghost because I am the Creator, the Father, and the Father cannot have a father. That's why Jesus was, when I was Jesus, I was conceived within Mary. And we have pointed out in other videos that Joseph was told to take the mother and her child, not his son, out of the Holy Land into Egypt. This is the kind of thing that is actually in, but you miss it when you aren't looking for it and you don't know the story. You'll miss it. So this is Isaiah 9:6. Now it's 9:6 in Australia, the 96th day of the year, which is the 95th day of the year, the day of the resurrection in Jerusalem. So it does the same thing. Now you can look those up yourself. I'm sick and tired of talking about it. So the Nostradamus prophecy. The next two leaves Rome in December. Now Nostradamus saying this 400 years ago. And saying when the comet can be seen in the daylight in December. Hello. I think it's a pretty accurate prediction. He was right on almost everything he said that has been interpreted correctly. Carry on.
Oh, right. So while in Scotland we visited Arbroath, Benedictine monastery that King William I, the Lion of Scotland, he had it built. His association with the Benedictine monks was legendary and started by his grandmother Margaret, Queen of England. She married Malcolm III, King of Scotland. So this is the Benedictine connection to Pope Benedict XVI, all to do with Scotland, and the bloodline of Judah down to the Christ today.
So here's the king. He had asserted his authority over the church, and he wasn't bowing down to the church like other nations do. He said, right, I'm over the church. Let's get that straight. And of course the churches tried to control kingdoms, and well, he wasn't having any fun. So he established and endowed monasteries and appointed his chosen churchmen to important positions. Queen Margaret, this is Malcolm's third English wife, they don't say, this is actually in the monastery. They don't mention at this point she was Queen of England, but in other photographs of the area that these plaques were, is the fact that she was mentioned as being Queen of England. So the Benedictines very, very strict, but William, he had silver mines, and of course he created his own currency. These men would pray 8 times a day, or go to church, they go to the church 8 times a day. They pray in between church meetings, and they started at 2 a.m, so they're pretty dedicated. I don't know how they got anything done.
Okay, so moving right along, because this is a very long PowerPoint this time, because you've repeated everything over and over, babe. Which is good for revision. It needs to be, because this would probably be the last before.
When you're doing hundreds of slides at a time, you do tend to repeat things over, because what happens, I'll get through, and the information pouring in from the internet or whatever, especially about the comet, it needs to be mentioned. And then so I'll put it in its order. And,
over and over.
Well, it's got to be over and over, because a lot of stupid people out there, and they've got to get the point.
All right, so Nostradamus, Nostradamus warned that the next to the last pope would flee Rome in December. So who will flee? It's Francis. He is next to...
Who's the last pope? There's only one legal pope, and he's still alive.
And that's Benedict.
Benedict.
So
I told Benedict, you're still a pope, son. You cannot get out of it. The only way is to die. And of course, he's now immortal because I've made him so. And, he will be my pope when we reorganise the church.
So you can read that there. Francis is the Antichrist. He is not the Pope.
Now the Pope Benedict, he can't flee Rome because he's locked up.
Mm. The conclave was totally illegitimate. They had the information that Benedict had, which from the 8th of March, 4 days before the conclave convened, they had the news, all of them. Cardinal Timothy Dolan of New York, he was the head dude, set himself up. He had all the information through personal email. It was sent to the College of Cardinals at the Vatican and various other monasteries all around Rome and Washington, D.C., all at the same time. So everybody was alerted. There is no excuse. They should have halted the conclave for an investigation.
The idea of being a pope is he holds the position that was invented in 87, when the Pope at the time decided he would make himself the vicar of Christ, which is of course a load of rubbish. You can't be Christ. There's only one Christ. So he's saying, he had the same power as Christ, and therefore from that point onwards, whatever the Pope said was as if God was talking. And of course, this is a load of rubbish. So the conclave should have stopped right then and there, as the responsibility of the Pope is to let the world know that Christ is bad. That's his job.
Which is what Benedict did in the Apostolic letter, and he had already video recorded the announcement to be released over RAI TV on March the 30th, along with the showing of the Shroud of Turin. However, that's when he found out that he was a prisoner of the Vatican. He phoned RAI to find out what was going on, and they told him that Francis had stopped the public announcement of the Christ return going out. So Francis is the Antichrist, cannot be anybody else, since the Christ has not presented himself in the flesh to any other pope other than Benedict, who is the man elected and chosen to recognise the Christ, because he is Peter 1. We all reincarnate, just as he said, "Thou art the Christ," first time, to which Jesus, then he replied, "Upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it." Well, the gates of hell or Hades is the Vatican, and it's all about now. I'll build my church now, because his church has not been built according to Christ over the years. It's been completely infiltrated and taking over. So it's all good for the good, but not so good for all those who oppose him, which is the Antichrist. This is the Lucifer telescope that the Vatican has spent millions on, Mount Graham in Arizona, part of the University of Arizona there. So far more dangerous than a solid mass in its head to become trillions of asteroids and meteors and debris. It passed within 8,888,888 kilometres of the Sun to the official distance of 8,888,008. This tells you the Earth is not going to be destroyed. The Earth is going to be cleansed, like removing cancer cells from a body, to then recover back to the perfect world I created before man destroyed it. And it is the meek who will inherit the earth. All of the elite have gone underground, like the rats that they are. Psalms 37:1, "But the meek shall inherit the earth and shall delight themselves in the abundance of peace." Psalm 147:6, "The Lord lifteth up the meek. He casteth the wicked down to the ground." Read, "He casteth the wicked underground." Sing unto the Lord with thanksgiving, sing praise upon the harp unto our God, who covereth the heaven with clouds, who prepareth rain for the earth, who maketh grass to grow upon the mountains. Isaiah 11:4, "But with righteousness shall he judge the poor, and reprove with equity for the meek of the earth. And he shall smite the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips shall he slay the wicked. With his mouth he speaks truth, hidden for millennia from the meek." Isaiah 61:1, "The Spirit of the Lord God is upon me, because the Lord hath anointed me to preach good tidings unto the meek. He hath sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives and the opening of the prison to them that are bound, to proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord and the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all that mourn. And that year is 2014. Matthew 24:37, but as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be.
I think if they had a choice, they'd rather the flood.
Yes. Now we travelled to Rome, defying the threat of the Antichrist Francis, who had said he would have us arrested, and we have the idiot's email. We sat in the Vatican office, May the 2nd, under the apartments, waiting to be arrested, but as expected, Francis did not greet us with his assassin thugs. Driving throughout Europe, we were unable to find any help. Not one soul was interested in the imprisonment of Benedict XVI by Francis. He then flew to Egypt, arrived September 26th. Isaiah 19:21, and the Lord shall be known to Egypt, and the Egyptians shall know the Lord in that day, and shall do sacrifice and oblation. Yea, thou shalt vow a vow unto the Lord, and perform it. Now in the year 1347, a comet which they named Comet Negra passed very close to the Earth in 1347, but they attribute the Black Plague having come with the comet, but it had actually started in 1346, and it was because the fleas from rats spread the disease, as Rome had decreed women who had a cat. A woman who had a cat was a witch, so the cats were killed off, which caused the rat population to increase out of control. So we're dealing with the same idiots to this day. Over the next 12 years, this is after 1347, it killed an estimated 75 to 200 million people. 333 years later, the great comet of 1680 passed close to the Earth, named Perseus Comet. It too became one of the brightest objects in the night sky, visible even in the daytime. 1680 comet was discovered on November the 14th, Prince Charles' birthday, 1680 by Gottfried Kirch, and was visible until March the 19th, 1681. The great comet of 1680, 168th day of the year, which is June the 17th, the date that Brian was born in Bethlehem as Jesus in the year 2 BC. Visible even in the daytime, like Ison. The 1680 comet was discovered on November the 14th, 1680, and was visible until March 19th, 1681. The last solar eclipse of 2012 was November the 14th, and the date March the 19th is my third wife's birth date in 1947. She, Mary Magdalene, the grandmother of Trinity Lee, who is the reincarnate of the Holy Mother Mary. It was not the Star of Bethlehem. There was speculation that the comet would be the Star of Bethlehem, but the Gospels do not mention a comet. It mentions the star was followed by the men from the east, and this was the slow passage of Venus overtaking Jupiter to line up on June the 17th, 2 BC, in the heart of Leo, which was the constellation of Judah, the royal tribe. There were several retrograde motions of the planets that year, Saturn, Venus and Mercury. Judah is not the Jews, then or today. Jesus was an Essene.
Judah is the royal tribe where the prophets and royalty were stationed in Jerusalem primarily, and they were separated from the likes of Solomon, who had 10 northern tribes, which was defeated by the Assyrians, which is Syria today. And that is why the Jews are attacking Syria today. It's a vengeance thing. They have a very long memory. And these Jews today are not Jews at all. Not one of their ancestors set foot in the Holy Lands. They are actually Mongolians from part that immigrated into Russia, which is called Khazaria. So genetically they've been proven that they are not related to anybody in the Middle East.
And there you've got the idiocy of the USA supporting Israel because of
well, look,
trap.
the churches that are supporting, like Schuller, for example, in this Crystal Palace, 33-degree Mason. Roberts, 33-degree Mason. Kenneth Copeland, 33-degree Mason. Masons are all Jews, just by another name, because the Jews started with it. They took it over.
Jupiter, 88,800 miles wide. It's the Jesus number, 888. This was when it was in retrograding that began on August the 30th, 2011. And it started its return halfway through February 22nd, 2012.
Here primarily to associate it with the 888 number and the 2222 number, Isaiah 22:22. I weigh 222 pounds, and of course it goes back in time to the 222nd day of the year, which was the date that my family moved from Rothschild Avenue to our new address, and that was when I was 942 days old. So what I'm saying is that once we get into it mathematically, they say that 10 to the 80th power is how many atoms there are in the visible universe. When you go to form a protein out of 4 amino acids, it's got to be right for 20 times in a row. And that mathematically is something in the order of 198 power, 10 to 198 power. Now, what I've shown you here over the years is the magnificent assembly of all these numbers that have my name written on it. Now we've got the comet coming in, which passes within the same numbers of the 888. It's got my name written all over it. So who else would be coming in the clouds? If this is not good enough for you, I mean, you've got something seriously wrong.
Oh. It's awesome. With your name all over it.
Yeah.
All right, you can study this here. The relationship of 888, the Lord number 800, Jesus 888, Christ 1480, added all together 3168. It's all to do with Leonard Golightly Marshall. Here we go again.
Now you see here that the 1480 and the 888, and then you got the word for Lord, which is 800. You put them all together. That's how old Benedict will be if you put a 0 on the end of it. On my birthday, when the comet is showering down all this debris on the earth, frightening everyone to death, on January 11th, 2014. And we have the age of the Pope, which will be 31680 days, the day before the 11th of January, 2014.
So the Christ has already returned, just as he promised he would, and the only way onto the earth is through a mother's womb.
Now, I'm leaving this in here. A lot of people have seen this before, but for those who haven't, you'll see where the 888 number is a genetic code, and it leads straight into the Great Pyramid in Egypt. And I also should mention that I went into the Great Pyramid with my lovely wife after the Jews tried to kill me with a heart attack. So while I was having the heart attack, which was very painful, I clapped about 10 times going into it. But I had to be there on my mother's birthday, which was October the 11th. And the reason for that is the height difference between the large pyramid, which is near the Great Pyramid. Its difference in height is 10.11 metres. So that's the number, 1011 or October the 11th. And that's one of the reasons why I had to be in there on that day. But there's many other reasons which I won't go into now, but you can stop any of these. Like this little thing here, for example. This is a GPS we had when we was up actually at
Glastonbury
Tor, St Michael's Mount. And we were going to use that to navigate back to where we were staying. Folkestone. And this is what come up on it. So
yes, this was the destination that was set and it was set from where we were. Now, the real distance was several hundred kilometres. However, the time was 22:20. The time, estimated time of arrival was 22:22, and the distance was 88.8 kilometres. And we had to
110 is immortality.
110 is immortality. So this was all set up for us by the angels, because I didn't do it. No, I just sat in and looked at it and was going, hello.
Well, I wanted to include it here because it shows you that the power of the angels can manipulate and move anything they like, because this is not something we can do physically sitting in the car with the GPS. I just switched it on, and that's what came up. And Ash was just coming down the hill behind me. So it was quite an amazing day. It was also the day when there was no shadows. And that was also uploaded several times. Also on top of the Glastonbury tour, it has a plaque, and the plaque shows north, south, east and west, and it was placed there around 1982 or something like that. And of course, the position of the church itself always has the opening facing east, and it was considerably out by that time. So going back to the year 1200 or so, when it was built, it was facing east, and that was easy enough done because you see the damn sun come up. But by the time of 1982, the Earth has shifted at quite a degree. So by the time we got there, we were looking at the plaque, and it was out. So the next thing we see that when we're there in 2013, we put our GPS on it, and it was, the plaque was out considerably because the Earth axis has took over by that time. So this is where we are at Hugara in Egypt. It's a good place to be because there's lots of fish, and when it all hits the fan and there's no food, well, we're just going to throw a line out. This is the actual time, and of course they're so dumb they come up with the 8888008 number, when in fact we're measuring a bloody comet, right? So like 800 kilometres is nothing when you're measuring a comet of this size. So how do they come to that precise moment? Well, they came to it because they didn't want to put in 8888888. That's what they didn't want to do. So they took 800 off it. 880 off it.
Skip right along. Okay, now the stars, of course, declare the glory of God. Matthew 24, verses 29 and 31. Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be
Well, the
shaken.
stars falling from heaven as little comets, little meteors, meteor showers. That's the same thing biblically. It's not referring to Jupiter or any of the constellations. It's anything that falls out the sky in those days was a star. So anything that's floating across and all of a sudden starts dropping on you, this is what this is referring to. Comet.
And the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. That's what's happened to Jupiter and
now
the
Mars itself has
earthquakes.
turned to a comet. Can you?
Yes,
like who would predict that except for me?
But the earthquake, the volcano.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
A lot of shaking going on there with the earthquake. Okay, and then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then, now, the sign.
So go in sequence. What do you had? You've had Jupiter, Io, and then you had the volcano flare up on that, and then you had Mars, it flared up, and then, of course, you now have distance of the perihelion, and if that's not signs in heaven, I don't know what are. Probably want a banner with my name on it.
Yes.
Well, we can arrange that.
A 2013 photograph over the Shroud of Turin. Okay, so all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. Well, that is Ison. I, Son.
I and Son.
With I and Son are one. The Father. Jesus said, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. The Father and I are one. What does it mean? The same soul. It was Yahweh, the Father, in Jesus. He was one doing the speaking. He was the one doing everything, but he was speaking as Jesus, the young dude, much like all of you are back here. You've been a child, a teenager, a young adult, middle-aged. You are the same soul growing up into maturity. So this time he's returned. He was cut off at 33. Same soul back through the womb of his most royal mother, Daphne Golightly, to grow up once again into the wisdom, knowledge and stature of who he is. Oh shit moment. Oh no.
What's going to cause the people of the earth to mourn, do you think? How about raining down meteors on them?
Totally. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet.
That's been happening all around the world, isn't it?
It has. And they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. Speaking of winds, there's a storm, violent storm over Poland happening right now.
Just turning backwards too.
Okay. Jesus the Creator, 888. 1837 was the time of the perihelion. To echo forth, that is, resound, be generally reported, sound forth, like a trumpet.
Like a trumpet.
So we have the Comet Ison, passing the Earth at the official distance of 8,888,000 at 8 kilometres. The 888 number. Okay, so what happens? The gigantic comet head draws trillions of fragments in its 16 million kilometre now long tail, which the Earth will be passing through. Much bigger than that now. The fragments will bombard the Earth with meteors, and there is absolutely no place to hide. With $60 trillion spent in the USA, the secret government has spent on underground bunkers. You'll remember a couple of years ago the CIA tunnels suddenly pressurised to 19.7 atmospheres. That's around 286 pounds per square inch, and then the doors blew out. The pressure had built up from an unknown cause. Air molecules penetrated everything, including... Well, actually, there were no personnel on it this time, but all the equipment... Oh, right. As well as the interior surface of the tunnel, they were all ground to dust. And that's the prophecies from the Aramaic about this rock. So you're talking about the rock.
It's very unlikely that it'd have all this secret equipment in an underground bunker without guards armed to the teeth. So the doors were closed, and then they couldn't get them open again because the pressure built up.
Okay, now the tunnels near the Madrid fault line along the Mississippi River, they've fractured, this is over time afterwards, with 7,000 mini quakes, turning the tectonic plates, leading edges to rubble. So when that happens, you can't have an earthquake. So thanks to the CIA's covert drilling, these massive tunnels, said to be hundreds of kilometres long, the Creator simply locked the doors, then built up this gigantic pressure. Therefore, the evil in man had been allowed to drill the tunnels, then turned into pressurised bombs to stop the tectonic plates to slide suddenly, which is what causes earthquakes.
What happens is the two tectonic plates along the Mississippi is called the Madrid fault line. And with the Deep Horizon rig that drilled down 20-odd thousand feet into a bubble of oil and gas, the idea was to flood the mouth of the Mississippi so that when half hit it with an earthquake, it would cause the fault line, being now covered in oil, to slip upon one another, causing this gigantic earthquake. And then the sea would rush in and form an inland sea, which is already, at that time, had maps drawn up by the Navy, United States Navy, showing the inland sea some 200 or 300 kilometres wide, right up to the Great Lakes. So they already had that plan. Right? It didn't happen. Stop it.
There, we can read through that. So what will happen when all of these tunnels across America, where the rats have scurried in a vain attempt to avoid the wrath of...
Don't worry about having an election because I won't allow it.
Now, of course, I have repeatedly proven who I am, returned as a thief in the night, demanded the churches stop supporting the Mongolian Khazar in the Holy Land who daily murder innocent Palestinians. There's only one saving grace for Christianity, Jewish homosexual child sacrifice and bastards, and that's Pope Benedict XVI, who has recognised me, and he wrote and then uploaded to the internet his apostolic letter saying, I am the Christ and am back. Now, the debris from the tail of the comet will rain down on the Earth, in particular where these tunnels are, targeting each tunnel, destroying every last one of them. None will escape. Each meteor and asteroid is already in position, drifting through space in a magazine of sorts, precisely set to be drawn into its assigned coordinate, to precisely strike its target. It's all in.
I'm quite thorough when it comes to numbers.
So if you're watching this video and have not heard my name, then Google it and catch up. Leonard Golightly Marshall, and repent. I'm Christ, Jesus, and God Almighty. I created everything. I came as Jesus, 888, and now the most royal man alive, recognised by Pope Benedict XVI, who languishes in his monastery there, his prison, within the Vatican, under arrest on the orders of the Antichrist Francis. Not for much longer, however. The weather has changed dramatically. Why? The solar system crossed the equatorial line of the Milky Way galaxy on December 11, 2011 at 11:11 a.m. Eastern Australia time. At that moment, the moon started to turn upside down, taking only 1 hour to do so. This moment in time was predicted by the Mayan calendar, thought to be December 21st, 2012. What occurred was time was out according to the Gregorian calendar. 10 days were added to the date of October the 4th in 1582. And then when the astronomers working for Pope Gregory XIII told him the sundial was out, he ordered the next day, the 5th, to be the 15th. And then when the Church of Rome set time in the 6th century, the date set January the 1st, 1 AD, not allowing for 1 BC to 1 AD of 365 days between. So this caused time to be out by 10 plus 365 days, or 375 days, pushing time ahead towards the Mayan time of the end to December 21st, 2012. Had to be rolled back. December 11, 375 days from 21 of December 2012 becomes December 11th, 2011. So this was the moment in time when the solar system travelling northward at 69,000 kilometres per hour crossed to the northern side of the galaxy, and that's where the creation took place, or the side of heaven. This was heralded by one of the signs predicted by myself as Jesus to watch for, to be seen in the heavens when the moon flipped upside down and the Coriolis of the earth reversed. This can be seen in water draining down your sink. It's now anti-clockwise in the northern hemisphere and clockwise in the southern. It's the reverse of what it used to be. And you can go back in time and look at those little men at the equator in Kenya and other places around the world, and you can see before and after that date that the reversal. Yet nobody talks about it. So creation is perfect. From a living cell, 1 of 100 trillion in your body, is more complex than you can comprehend. Likewise, every grain of dust in the coming doomsday event of Ison is preordained to destroy all evil. The obvious is the close path past the sun. 8,888,888 kilometres should be enough proof it is a divine sword, as I promised would occur. Like the 100 years of scorn that Noah and his family endured, then came the flood. That occurred when Mars drew close to the Earth, when the solar system passed the Milky Way equator, heading south. That's the fall of man on the south side of the equatorial line of the Milky Way galaxy. We're now back over to the north side, the side of heaven. That's why, as Jesus, he said, pray this way, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on the earth as it is in heaven. Well, now, as it was in heaven, because we are in the heavenly realm. He knew, as Jesus, that the solar system was moving that fast, and we were about to, in the years ahead, cross over to the north side where creation took place. So anything that's been accomplished has been accomplished while on the south side, which is known as hell. We've all been in hell. So this is the resurrection, if you like, out of hell back over to the north side for all those who remain alive after the fallout from Ison. So, alright, Mars drew close unseen by the inhabitants of the earth as there was a vast firmament above. They didn't have chemtrails in those days, but they did have a firmament that filtered out UV rays and was the moisture firmament that caused the dew. There was no rain before the flood. So anyway, drawing close by, magnetic attraction, a close encounter bumped together, causing the water from Mars to flow onto the earth, causing the flood. The slight impact blasted the moon out through what is today Antarctica. As Mars drifted away, its orbit settled outside that of the Earth to around 145 million miles, or 1.5 AU. The molten material of the Earth, now in the absolute zero temperature of space, froze the moon with bubbles forming as craters as the interior cooled slowly and then its surface quickly. Yeah, as you keep saying, much like the bubbles in porridge.
Yeah.
Yes. The moon then caused the offspring of Noah to ovulate. It a worldwide phenomenon and seen in all life and mankind, and all animals lived shorter lives, decreasing until only 70 years was lived, which was the age of King David when he died. Solomon, the black witch, died at 64 years. Now as Jesus, he said, I will be back as a thief in the night, Matthew 24:43, like a thief in the night. Quoting, but know this, that if the good man of the house had known in what watch the thief would come, he would have watched, and would not have suffered his house to be broken up. Therefore be ye also ready, for in such an hour as ye think not, the Son of Man cometh. Well, that hour, the day and the hour, that he as the Father has been alerting the world to, was January the 11th, the day, 1944, the hour 2:22 a.m. Sydney time. Whole world sleeping. Half of it, the other.
Now, as a leading scholar in Europe, says that Jesus is back, and if you think you're smarter than the leading scholar in Europe, which is Pope Benedict, then you need to be seeing a psychiatrist.
Luke 12:34, and know this, that if the good man of the house had known what hour the thief would come, he would have watched, and not have suffered his house to be broken through. Be ye therefore ready also, for the Son of Man cometh at an hour when ye think not. So he's already here. Peter 3:10, but the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also, and the works that are therein, shall be burned up. Not a happy.
Not a happy at all. Well, it is for me, I must admit. Vengeance is sweet, saith the Lord. And you better repent.
Revelation 3:3, remember therefore how thou hast received and heard, and hold fast and repent. If therefore thou shalt not watch, I will come on thee as a thief, and thou shalt not know what hour I will come upon thee. It's already occurred. His second coming has already occurred, and nobody has known. Behold, I come as a thief. Blessed is he that watches, and keepeth his garments, lest he walk naked, and they see his shame. Now Ison is accompanied by the Nibiru dwarf sun and its 7 planets, causing the Earth's axis to tilt over 42 degrees. These here are the clues that we got from the net this morning. This was back in October, I think the 17th, the date on it, when somebody put this together. The clues that they've gone underground from an email that was sent.
Someone who packed the shits and started to think, well, they just start telling the truth. And what they do is, Obama, being such an idiot, he actually made videos 2 years in advance that were supposed to be played. So if he dropped dead, 2 years later they'd be still playing his videos as if they were current on that particular day. And what they're saying today and what they get public announcements and so forth is probably preempted and manufactured months in advance.
This is where to repeat. I'm just going to go through these. A good reminder. So
just go back one, I'll show you something. It's 552. Is that a room number? And that's how many times that something was found in the Bible. I forget it. Oh, that's
well,
what
no,
it is.
it's the verse total.
What's that number there?
Well, it's Amma, mother, 522. And the number of verses that the Christ is found.
Didn't I just say that?
Yes, well, something like that. Okay, let's move on.
It's something like that. It's exactly like that.
Okay, so, yes, here we go. This is, we've already been through this.
It doesn't matter. I mean, these people, if they're not too bright, they need to see it a few times. And, they can stop it anywhere they like.
That's right. It is. Nothing like revision.
This one's here. Let's go back to that one. This is the dates, of course. We have Saturn, which is Saturn gives off 9.42 times the energy it receives from the sun. So what's 942? That's how many times the word Jesus is found in the New Testament. And that's how old I was when I moved from the house that my parents had. So I was 942 days old when we moved, and that was the 222nd day of the year. It goes on. The synchronicity is mathematically so unbelievable that nobody's talking about it, because if you do, they'll kill you.
New Zealand lies between two latitudes, measuring 808 miles apart.
That one there, we'll just get back to it. That's the solar eclipse that occurred 14 days after I was born, and to the house, my rebirth location, was 8888.8 miles. Now, from that rebirth location, the distance to the South Pole is 3877 miles, and that is the word comforter. And from the hospital, it's 387. I'll go backwards. 387.
3877 from the hospital, 3875 from the house.
Which is how many times the word God is found in the verse total.
The verse total. So 3875 from the house is the word comforter.
And this one here across Argentina, if you measure up 5813 kilometres from the South Pole, which is 3137 nautical miles, I don't know what 3137 is, it is 888.88 miles across. Now we do this with the satellite technology. We go in and with Google Earth, we see where the beach is, we take the coordinate of it, and then we measure it with, take those coordinates, put them into Magellan satellite, because you can't rely on Google Earth. Every time I say something, they're going to change the plate distance. But it does give you longitude and latitude accurately. And then, as I say, you put it into Magellan or one of the GPS software, especially old ones that aren't attached electronically to the internet. It'll give you these precise numbers. So that's what it does. But I've done thousands of things like that. This is all the relationships of my children to myself and my brother.
This is your first daughter.
That's how old I was when she was born in Port Alberni. Sunrise to sunset was 888 days.
That's the gematria for Matthew 1:23. Behold,
yes,
a virgin, and
Emmanuel. Emmanuel means God with us. Look it up. I'm sick and tired of talking about it.
Ronald. No, this is Trinity, granddaughter, who is the reincarnated Virgin Mary. She was 8.8888 years old on the Christ's 69th birthday this year, January 11th, 2013. And who'd have thought in January, babe?
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought in January that we'd be here by the Red Sea?
Yeah. Hopefully we'll be going out fishing.
Yes. Now back to Muhammad. Muhammad had it right. He had everything right. He said in his letters, not the Quran, that's been, and just like the Christian abominations, Islam has been broken up into different schools, which came much later after Muhammad. But what Muhammad wrote in his personal letters were that Jesus was the soul of Allah, whereas Adam was made by the right hand of Allah. Jesus was the soul of Allah, and so the virgin birth. He himself was a good man and loved by those who knew him. He suffered much.
Didn't you say this morning about the Caiaphas report?
Yes, well, last night the Caiaphas report.
It mentions that Muhammad
Yeah.
ordered a copy of it to be kept.
Well, no, the man who compiled the Archcode volume, and this is all at the Scrib site, you can go and get it. When he was putting the book together, he put in there as the front to the second part of the Caiaphas report that these scrolls that have been found by Muhammad in Constantinople, because this part was found in Constantinople, he had them kept safe in Constantinople. In other words, he was allowed. Yeah, well, I'm just bringing clarification of how Muhammad had it.
Yes, will do.
All right, okay, well, whatever. Anyway, so Muhammad
yes,
is mentioned.
will do. That's what you said, Lord.
Yes, Lord, that's exactly what you said.
I hope people suck them up.
Anyway, these guys have got it on tape now. They can go back and...
Okay.
All right, you can... Okay, here we go. It's all about Muhammad. And actually, it's all about you, isn't it? There's the Arabic man, the image in the Shroud of Turin, that's the first one, and of course, we are the in the Shroud of Turin. And here we are, back to beautiful fish. Final. Okay. Let's turn it off so we can get it up there. Anything else?
That'll do. Hasta la vista, baby.